This is the after party for 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff. If you have a question for Hall of Famer Eric Bischoff, you have come to the exact right place. It's a party over here. We have all of our friends joining us live. And my friends, my name is Christy. They're here. Steve, George, and Adam Woods. Hey, guys.
What's good?
It's a party over here. There's a party over there. Wave your hands in the air. Shake your derriere.
Nice. That was just for you, Mr. Eric Bischoff. You are welcome.
Wow. Well, that's a hell of an open. That might be one of the most interesting opens that I've been a part of.
Well, you know, it's a bit of a celebration in here this week because you guys talked all about Lex Luger and WCW from 95 to 97 on the latest episode, and it's Lex's birthday today. Our live viewer, Nicholas Blake, wants us all to wish Lex Luger and AJ Styles a happy birthday.
But first, can we wish Steve Kaufmann a happy birthday from yesterday?
Yes.
I think it would be appropriate if we did. So, woo-woo!
Happy birthday
to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And bada-bing.
Yeah. There you go.
Jeter doesn't have any raps for you, I guess.
Oh, he's all wrapped out.
We had the raps yesterday after the forum.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Yeah,
Well,
that was
yeah.
it. That was the thing.
You guys had an eventful evening. Eric, I think, wants to hear what was it like in the arena as it was all going down last night. I'm sure they know what I'm talking about. Dynamite, MJF drops a pipe bomb, amongst some other pretty cool things that went down on Dynamite last night. So you guys were there live. Tell me and Eric what it was like.
I think we should go on alphabetical order, so I'm going to go first. But it wasn't like MJF called his boss a mark and echoed the sentiments of like any detractor of what's going on. That didn't happen at all. It wasn't the most, I guess, interesting rated segment of the night amongst interesting segments of the night if you're kind of a hardcore diehard, and I think we all kind of are. But yeah, no, MJF is on fire. I can't believe a lot of the shit that he said. And for us in the arena, I got a couple messages. They were like, "Oh, did they cut off MJF's mic?" I'm like, "No, we heard the whole thing. I've got it on Snapchat. It's a thing."
Yeah. Well, it didn't make it all to television, I guess. I don't know. I didn't see it live. I've only seen different clips of it, and I'm a little bit confused as to what actually made air and what, like you, who had it on Snapchat in its entirety, because I think it might be a little different.
A little bit.
Yeah, I think so too. I didn't actually have the opportunity to check it back either, but what was said was rather incendiary. That said,
I heard the whole unedited version, the Adam Woods version, and I was like, whoa. First of all, MJF is in a different universe. He is without peer. That's it. I don't even want to talk to anybody that might think differently because we'll have nothing in common at the end of a long exchange. But holy smokes. What an amazing, whether it's a work, whether it's, I don't care what it is. I literally do not care what it is. And I say that because I'm so looking forward to finding out what it is. So whichever way it is, work, shoot, I don't care. As long as I get to go on that ride and that journey for us all to find out one way or the other. It's going to be pretty cool.
I don't exactly consider myself like an introvert, but like I've never been really interested in like the Coachellas or like sometimes I don't really care for concerts at times, or even like some sports games until you're kind of there, until you kind of realize once you're there, you're like, wow, like it's kind of special being in a big group of people who are just as passionate as you are. Like there's a cool feeling being at a Dodger game and seeing a grand slam or something to that extent, right? Seeing when they win, the game-winning hit at the ninth inning, and there was something I got a very similar feeling being in that stadium or the arena last night, just during that MJF promo. Like there was passions, there was emotions, there was cheers, started with jeers, like everything right about pro wrestling. It was in that promo as far as like the fans go, where it's like he took the fans along on that ride of like, hey, screw you, MJF, you banded us. Like and it's funny, like I looked to Steve when he came out because the fans were chanting, "You sold out," and I'm like, what do they sell out? He's still like it's not like he's going to the WWE.
He's right here in
or
front of you.
Yeah, he's right here. So I was like, why is everybody chanting "You sold out"? I was so confused, and they went from that to like I've never seen such like a standing ovation for a promo. And I was at the Vegas show when CM Punk did the pipe bomb, and I guess it's just a different audience. Like you can have that kind of promo in the WWE, it just doesn't resonate with that fan base. It's like, okay, that was a good promo, okay, cool. What's next? Right? But this promo was like, oh my God, like it was literally like a 17,000 standing ovation for that promo, and it's not so much a question, it's more like my experience being there. And I tell you, like I can't tell you what happened in that Punk promo. I can't tell you anything else that happened in that show. This is going to be one of those shows. First show in Inglewood. I'm not going to be able to tell you anything that happened in 10 years about this show except for that MJF promo.
Let me ask you, and I didn't want to interrupt you because you're doing such a beautiful job of making me feel like I was there. And that's the magic. You did such a great job, George, of framing up what I feel makes professional wrestling such a unique form of entertainment. And in fact, John Elba and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago on Strictly Business. We talked about the importance of live touring and how it creates, and certainly has the potential much more than we typically see, but as you experience, has the ability to connect to its audience in such a powerful, tangible way that no other form of entertainment really does. And that communal experience that you described, that kind of takes you out of your typically sort of introverted frame of mind, and you give yourself permission to go, hoping you're going to feel that emotion that you can only get in front of a live crowd, brother. Mm-hmm. It's the only place it happens. And that's what makes wrestling and touring and live events so special, because your relationship now with MJF and with AEW completely different than it was before the show. And it will be for a long time. Doesn't mean you're going to love everything they did, but man, where are you going to get that buzz? Where are you going to get that? You can't get that. It's fun.
Well, speaking of buzzes, I mean, CM Punk actually mentioned, and I don't know if it made it to air, I haven't watched it back, but he said basically to the effect of, I don't really take drugs, but if I did, I'd imagine this is what it would feel like. And then Dax Harwood would kind of like, he might not do drugs, but I've done every one of them, and that's exactly how it feels like. And just to kind of reiterate what you're saying, it's exactly that.
It's so cool. And now I really wish I would have been there or at least seen it. My daughter was there. Montana was there. And she was backstage. It was pretty cool. Sending me pictures. She just sent me one of her and Dustin. Dustin was really happy to see her. But just George, I cannot. I'm going to go back and watch this over again because I don't think anybody could have described what that feeling is like than you did.
And especially like I'm not trying to bash anybody, but like I've never been I have to record this. I'm like phone down. Let me just feel this moment. Like, let me just like, I don't want to have any kind of, distractions. I'm all in as far as, being there. And it's such a cool moment. Like going back to like concerts, it's like you watch a concert on TV. You're like, I can watch it on YouTube, but there's nothing like being there live. Like there's, especially during these cool moments like we saw last night and what we've seen in the year. I'm sure Goldberg winning in the Georgia Dome, I'm sure had that similar feeling for those 40,000 that was there that day.
Yeah, there's probably been, we could probably pick, all kinds of moments from the 80s and the 90s and even recently where those special moments happen. They don't happen all the time, man. But when they do, you're a fan for life.
A quick sidebar, Eric. Can we make some conjecture as to why your daughter Montana would have been there, or should we not do that yet?
Well, she works for Warner Television.
Yes.
And she not It's complicated.
Yes.
And we're just going to kind of frame it up as she works for a company that is a subsidiary of Warner, and she's director of development for all kinds of different television and all kinds of different networks. But it was big kind of, Warner AEW night, so she went along for the ride.
Awesome.
That was a really good try, Christy.
So here's a try. I'm currently unemployed, and I'm looking for a job. Maybe you can talk to your daughter. But aside from that, speaking of the whole MJF situation, I don't know how much you've been following this whole thing. I like you said, it doesn't matter. Work, shoot, it doesn't matter. But at what point do you think it became like, okay, well, this is definitely a work? Like, do you think it's been a work from the start? Do you think at some point, maybe a few days ago, there was, all right, cool, let's do this. Let's go to the next step.
Here's the magic. I don't know. And I think anybody who has a strong opinion one way or the other has plenty of reasons to justify those opinions, but they don't know either. And I mean, look, you could take a little thing like CM Punk running MJF out of the ring. You saw that? MJF got done, Punk comes out. He did the chicken shit heel thing. Or he just wanted to get out of there because it was over with. And he was done. He said his piece and he wanted to have the last word. And he didn't want to share that moment. So it could have been either. And nobody knows for sure, which is why I loved what happened last night so much, because I don't care which one it is. I just want to find out either way. But that I know we're in for a ride. It's going to be a long ride or a short ride. It's going to be a really bad ride, or it's going to be an amazing ride that people will be talking about for decades. And I don't know which it is.
Mm-hmm. Also, some subtle fun. MJF's not on AEW's roster page online. And if you go to his merch
you would
page,
have to do that.
Of course.
Nobody should look at that and go, oh my God, there's another telltale sign. No,
that's just good seasoning.
If you went as far as they went last night, believe me, you wouldn't want to screw it up by saying, oh, he's still on the roster page.
You can still buy
merchandise.
Well, what's pretty clear is that MJF's motivation here is money. And Zoa Lopez wants to know, Eric, your thoughts on MJF demanding more money 2 years before his deal is even up.
I don't blame him. Would anybody in their right mind not do that? Now, how you go about trying to get more money, that's, different for everybody, I guess. And there's a lot of different ways to do it, depending on the circumstances, but none of us know the circumstances. I don't. And a lot of people think they do, and some of them may be very right and some of them not, but I don't know. But here's what I do know. I've been in this, not exactly the same situation. Tony Khan and MJF are in a very unique situation, very, very unique in so many different ways. But in a very general sense, I had been in those positions previously. And it's a tough spot to be in because you're sitting across the desk from someone who in your own heart, you believe deserves more money. And in Tony's case, he has the money. But you also have to realize that once that decision is made, because the person you're sitting across from is right, and you respect that person, and you want to do it in your heart, those are all good things. And no good deed goes unpunished. Because the minute you do that, you're going to be doing it, or you're going to be dealing with people who are attempting to do it way more than you want to. And where do you draw that line? Because eventually you're going to have to draw it. And what does that create? It's like a virus, man. That negativity spreads, that the distortion of the conversation starts to happen. alliances are formed, because you just want to try to find a way to work this and maybe overcome this, right? That's just the nature of the beast in the talent industry, not just the wrestling industry. At some point, you're going to have to do that, and it's a tough decision. So either way it goes, I understand it. I understand it from MJF's point of view. I absolutely understand it. If I was him and I had the balls he has, I would do the same thing. But I also understand why if it doesn't go his way, Tony has to make the choice he has to make. Not because he doesn't believe it, not because he doesn't want to do it, but because he has to at some point go, whoo, I got 100 of these people just waiting to see how this goes. And their agents and their attorneys and their wives, their girlfriends, their boyfriends, their husbands.
Well, our live viewers want you to talk a little more about Tony Khan, actually.
This show's gonna go long tonight. You might as well tell everybody right now.
I think we're okay with that, especially once everyone sees where we're going. And I'm going to buffer with this from Nicholas Blake, who was early to the show tonight. Thanks for that, Nicholas. He said, I wanted to say thank you, Eric, for all the great memories you gave me as a kid growing up. NWO for life, my friend. And I say that to ask you this question from Nicholas Blake. He says, I can't believe what Punk and Khan said about Eric. Unbelievable. He is, of course, referring to the media scrum that went down after Double or Nothing. Eric, I do have the comments here, starting with, Tony saying that what you said was effing BS. Are you aware of the comments that were made at the media scrum?
Oh, yeah. I didn't see him. No, well, how could I not be? Do you think everybody that's seen that on the internet hasn't sent it to me in one way, shape, or form? Like immediately after it happened, going, "Oh God, could you come on my podcast and respond?" Got a lot of those. Look, and I, I love you guys. I really do love you guys. I love doing this show, and I never want to play games with the audience. But I am going to make a statement. I'm going to have a position on it, and I want to really think it through. It's not like I've got any big surprise in my back pocket. There's none of that. But when I pull the trigger, you'll know it. And until I'm ready to pull that trigger, I'm just going to think about it for another couple of days, because I went from reaching for my Twitter at 5:40 a.m. the next morning and ready to light the world on fire, to going, now every time you do that, you kind of wish you would have thought about it a little longer. So put the thing down and have a cup of coffee. And I did, and I picked it back up again because coffee does that to me. It wakes me up like kicking me right square in the teeth. Okay, let's go. And I was reaching for that Twitter, and I got about halfway through. And I don't know halfway through what, because that would have been a long one. I would have been page 12 of the Twitter pages. But I stopped, and again I said, no, man, if you're going to do this, do it when you're 100% focused and in control, and don't let your anger outweigh your ability to paint the picture you really want to paint. So I put that shit down, and I'll pick it up again soon.
Ooh.
So mature.
Yeah, absolutely. I like
that.
No.
No. It's just when this one flies, it's gonna take some people out.
Ooh.
I don't know what it says about me, but I'm kind of looking forward to that.
When I say take some people out, I want to be clear on that.
Yeah.
It's going to light up social media. Let's put it that way.
Ooh. Now I kind of want to circle back, right? MJF is in a unique situation. Khan is in a unique.
You're cutting in and out.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I think because you're holding it, it cuts in and out.
Okay, so what I kind of want to get to is who else on that roster is like MJF, right? That is the kind of ace in the hole that I think Tony Khan has if he sides with MJF and pays MJF a little bit more money without a contract extension. Is who else is in there? Who cuts the promos? Like MJF has done everything done the promos, become a presence, worked on his body, all of the things, all of the metric, be a can't miss talent, have the it factor. Who else on that roster or any roster is like MJF, right? And I know like there's people waiting in the wings, trying to see who's, how this is going to go, but like who else?
You're
Like
no,
MJF?
I get it, man. You're thinking about it logically. Like everybody should, on an individual basis, be able to look at themselves in the mirror and go, Adam Woods is right. Really, I'm not MJF. I shouldn't be thinking, that I could pull the same thing he pulled, or achieve the same thing he achieved with that particular type of negotiation. But that would be logical. But people aren't logical; they're emotional. And when you're emotional, you start looking at things differently. And when you start comparing what you do, what you've done to others, maybe you're not asking for, to triple or quadruple your salary, but you may feel like you're definitely you're at that lower mid-level and you're worth $100,000 more. Why? Because, well, compared to this guy over here or this girl over here, I know what I did and I know what my quarter hours are and I know how many people follow me on YouTube and here's my social media. All of a sudden you have all these metrics that people have to kind of fill the emotional justification they need to go in and ask for more money. It's human nature. It's nothing, doesn't make them bad people, but you're in the talent business. It's competitive. You've got a short lifespan, professionally speaking. If you're smart, you're going to make as much money as you can make, however you can make it. But it gets to a point from the management side where now that's my point. You're dealing not with somebody who has a legitimate, undeniable bitch. Now you're dealing with people who are showing you YouTube data. Good luck with that.
I can make that say whatever you need it to say.
Oh, believe me, I read shit all week long from people that do that.
Another MJF question. Maybe this is more of like a legal thing. Will there be any legal repercussions? Because obviously the next step in the storyline is something that like will have keep people going talking. But I don't even know if it's even possible. But would there be any repercussions, legally, like I just mentioned, if let's say MJF buys like a front row ticket to Raw or SmackDown and just sits there and just does nothing?
I mean, there's no. I'm not a lawyer. Mike Dawkins could answer that. My gut, and having been sued a bunch of times for all kinds of shit, my gut is that technically, legally, eventually, yes, if you wanted to invest the amount of money you'd have to invest in a lawsuit to hopefully, maybe, possibly get damages that hopefully, maybe, possibly are equal to what it costs to take that suit to court in the long run. Yeah, you could probably win that suit.
AEW would win or WWE would win?
You mean if MJF showed up?
And then just showed up, just as a fan, he buys a ticket like everybody else.
I don't know that
sits in the front, sits wherever, first, second row.
Yeah, you could probably, who are they going to sue? Who would sue?
I'm assuming that WWE would go after AEW.
If MJF showed up in the front row,
No.
Yeah.
For an independent contractor buying a ticket?
It'd be part of the gimmick where it's like MJF is disgruntled, he wants to quit, he wants to get it fired. Okay, well the next step is I'm gonna show up on Raw, have a front row ticket, and just sit there and watch the show like everybody else.
You're suggesting that WWE would sue AEW for that?
Or I'm just asking, like, will there be anything holding that back from happening?
No. I mean, here two answers. One is I don't know. Legally, anything, anybody can sue anybody for anything, and who knows what's going to happen. It's a messed up legal system that we have on the civil side in many respects. But from a common sense perspective, why would God, if I'm in WWE right now, I'm praying that MJF buys a ticket and sits at ringside. That'd be awesome. That would have been like if I would have had the ability to know that DX was coming into the building. Fuck yeah. That'd be the best TV in the history of TV. Come on. I would have had that opportunity because, could have made, but even if MJF just buys a ticket and buys a ticket out of his own money, goes there on his own as a private citizen, and there's no connective tissue to AEW in any way, no format, no emails, no nothing. Just MJF just gets a hair up his ass, says, I think I'm going to go sit at ringside and finds a way to buy a ticket. No, how could anybody possibly sue anybody for that?
That'd be great. Part two of the question, though, if that were to happen, based on your experience around being around some of the boys, would the boys maybe look at that as disrespect? Because we all know where the attention's all going to go to if that were to happen on a live wrestling show for WWE.
Maybe you see a picture I don't see, but first of all, which boys? I hate calling boys boys. They're not boys in the back. Maybe to you they are because you're actually a wrestler and I never was, but I call them talent.
Maybe just kind of. I mean,
okay. G-Herm. Let's kind of move on here because Uncle Bruce is never going to let MJF do that, right? That would be seen by WWE as going into business for himself and could maybe be a sign that, hey, this guy's a loose cannon. Maybe we don't want him on our roster, right? So Bruce would never let that happen, first of all. Second of all, I think legally the only way that there could be an issue there is if WWE does kind of play that up and would show him several times, maybe on TV, maybe it bumps their ratings. Maybe that's where AEW goes, hey, you can't use our talent on your show. So, I don't think there's any chance of that ever happening, G-Herm.
And if it does, it would be like Enzo Amore at that Survivor Series where they asked him to leave.
Or Rory McAllister
in
Impact.
See, I disagree with you, Christy, about Bruce. You don't know Bruce like I know Bruce.
True.
Yeah, in fact, I vociferously disagree. Vociferously. For those of you that read Dave Meltzer, that means loudly, voicefully.
Thank you.
But no, I know Bruce really, really well. And Bruce may get shut down from somebody else for valid or otherwise reasons, but don't think for a second Bruce wouldn't take advantage of that.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Yeah, and that's also assuming that this other force other than Bruce even knows who MJF is, which...
Oh, no.
Really?
I don't think that'd be a stumbling block.
Okay. Right on.
Wow. Well, we will certainly stay tuned into all of that, and we'll be picking your brain about it, Eric, on a weekly basis, I am sure. In the meantime, let's get to some more of these questions. We've got a super chat from John Collins, who asks, Eric, why do wrestling fans think that organizations should or have to listen to them about ways that storylines should go? We don't challenge Broadway plays like this. That's true, John Collins. John says, I'm so tired. We don't run the show. What are your thoughts here, Eric?
That was a lot. Sum it up for me.
It was a lot. Basically, he wants to know, why do you think wrestling fans think that the wrestling company should listen to their opinion? I think he wants you to call wrestling fans like petulant and spoiled and such things, but I highly doubt you're going to do that.
That would be an easy thing to do, right? But this is one of the reasons I hate the word marks. Because it's a pejorative. It's a disrespectful thing to say about somebody. One of the beautiful things about professional wrestling, and one of the things that, again, going back to the conversation we had with George, that makes it so unique, is that fans are so passionate about it that they get emotional and they say things that on the surface and in social media are borderline ridiculous, sometimes worse. But what is that? That's just a fantastic connection, sometimes a little out of control, but nonetheless, a direct connection to the product. And man, I'm grateful for it. You know what? The other day, I think it was on last week's show, and I joked about all the heat that I got from social media for the shit that I said about Tony Khan or CM Punk. I'm sorry. And I laugh about it, and I'm not kidding you. I love that stuff, and I love knowing that I can make people react that way. And it's interesting and fascinating to me, the degree to which and how they communicate it. I think it's like a study in human nature. I find it fascinating. So now I don't look, if fans feel so strongly about something that they feel impassioned about it and can communicate and share that in our digital community, which is unlike the live event experience that George was privileged to experience. A lot of people don't, and they try to get that buzz on the phone. If that's how they got to get it, let them get it. I don't care.
To be fair, a lot of fan bases, we know wrestling, so we know that audience, but a lot of fan bases that are non-wrestling are the same exact way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I actually heard a really good quote from Dan Harmon, who created Community. He also created Rick and Morty. And someone asked him, do you feel bad about creating Rick and Morty because there are a lot of trash people who like Rick and Morty? And his answer was, a tenth of humanity is trash. So if 1 million people like Rick and Morty, that means 9 million cool people like Rick and Morty. It was a really good quote that's apt to this.
That's really interesting. It's funny. I did, and I'm not just here to plug Strictly Business over at adfreeshows.com. One of the best shows on Ad Free Shows platform.
With John
I
Alba.
do say so myself. Should be its own podcast, so maybe soon. But we had Sean Pendergast, who is he does sports for CBS Radio and nationally, and he's got a syndicated show in Houston. He came on because he's a huge wrestling fan. And I asked him to come on because I was listening to him about 6 or 8 weeks ago, and he was talking about Major League Baseball and spring training and the draft and all kinds of stuff that I was just not remotely interested in as a fan. But I found the way he presented his coverage so fascinating because I love radio deep down inside. I love listening to great radio. And I found him so interesting because he went into the significance of story in sport. And I wanted to have that same discussion with the parallel to professional wrestling because he's a massive wrestling fan. And the reason I reached out to him and asked him to be on the show is because I was listening to his show about 6 or 8 weeks ago, and he started making professional wrestling references, calling out certain talents in the context of the story he was telling about a given situation in sports. I thought, what the hell? I got to get this guy on my show. So I tracked him down and got him on the show. And we talked about today how that 10% is the loudest 10%. And if you don't know any better, you think that represents 100% is what you're saying, George, or how I interpreted it. And I think that's true, so true in wrestling. It's so true in wrestling. And that's at the kind of nucleus of what I end up talking about 75% of the time. Are you catering to the loudest 10%? Or are you catering or producing for the masses?
Yeah. Well, obviously we're talking a lot about the MJF situation last night. One of the things that also came right before, I think the segment before the MJF promo was Tanahashi, one of the greatest New Japan stars of the last 10, 15 years, coming out and essentially, I think they're teasing a match between him and Punk at Forbidden Door. At the height of the relationship that you had with New Japan, was it feasible to have a joint pay-per-view with New Japan in like 95, 96?
Well, we did. I mean, I don't know the details of that joint pay-per-view, but we did, New Japan versus WCW.
Starrcade 95.
Yeah, it's not the first time it's ever been done, folks. It's the first time it's been probably promoted as well, or maybe because New Japan is realistically, it's a better known brand here in the United States than it was back then. Maybe but whatever. Well, been there, done that, kids.
There you go.
We have a fun super chat from Blue Chew with 2 O's. Mr. Bischoff, what are you doing for prep for the Ric Flair roast? And let me know if you want me to tell him, Rick. Sorry, Eric.
Oh, no, you can clip this if you want. In fact, would you guys do me a favor and clip this?
No problem.
So Conrad sent me a text yesterday morning and said, hey, would you be willing or interested in, I'm not sure which it was, in being on the Ric Flair roast panel? And I just hit him with a quick thumbs up, which is what I do most of the time. And just, sure, whatever you need, whatever you want. And I didn't think anything about it. This morning I got up, grabbed my coffee, me and Nikki, go outside, say a little prayer, spend some time with God, drink my coffee, Reach for my phone, pick it up. What do I see? A promo from Ric Flair telling me he's going to roast me at his roast, that he's got things on his mind that he's been wanting to say for 25 years, which, by the way, if that's true, I can't wait to hear him, because I can't imagine what else you could possibly say that you haven't already said. But bring it, dude. Come on. And that's how I started my day. I think I'm doing a nice thing for my buddy Conrad and who I thought was my buddy Ric Flair. And all of a sudden now I'm getting roasted. Motherfucker, I was showing up for a beer and a laugh. Let's sign up for that.
And it'll just be at your expense.
But here's the deal, Rick, and I mean this sincerely, no joke here. When it comes to owning a ring, being the best of the best, for the longest, you can have different opinions about people, whatever. But in terms of what they achieved, what they delivered, the impact they've had, not only on the business and the people in the business, but on people outside of the business. I'm learning more and more each day how significant of a reach that professional wrestling has and how it can change people's lives in ways that are not obvious, but good. And Rick has been right there in the center of it all. Inside the middle of that ring, there is nobody like Ric Flair. But guess what, buddy? When you're on that stage in front of a live crowd, that's my ring.
You'll definitely get your beer. That's for sure.
Oh, well, and of course, Conrad bringing us StarCast. Madden's Elite Podcast wants to say, Eric, I'm loving ad-free shows. Thank you, boss. And Mick Mac, one of our favorite top guys, says, Eric, my birthday wish, happy birthday, Mick Mac. You're one of many great guys who have a B-day around this time of year. His birthday wish is for you to admit that he is your favorite fan, not Lauren or Genovius.
Well, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mick Mac. Happy birthday to you. I will sing you happy birthday, but I will not pick among my favorite children.
That's fair.
Aww.
So there you go. I ain't picking. How do you do that? Can't do that. And while I'll sing you happy birthday on your birthday, Mick, I will still call you a dick for stirring that shit. Why would you do that?
Resident shit stirrer.
No kidding, right? He's taking it to a different level.
There's levels to this shit.
We should give a shout out to MY2979 who asked what's already been answered. Eric, any comments on Punk and Khan's comments about you? That's coming later. Thank you for the super
brother.
chat.
Stay tuned.
Yes, and Tim Preston is concerned before you put out this statement or whatever your plans are to do, Eric. He wants to make sure that you have considered this. Tim says, when calling CM Punk the biggest flop in wrestling, have you considered that the AEW, more so internet audience, may watch AEW elsewhere than on primetime American TV?
Look, I'm so tired of your bullshit. This all comes back down to, oh, well, everything's different now. It's not the 90s anymore. Well, no shit, Sherlock. You think people haven't figured that out? Are you the only one, not you individually, but are your ilk the only ones able to figure that out? You keep repeating it like nobody's listening to you. Obviously, it's a fact. But let's just look at percentages of audience. Since everyone wants to make the comparison, AEW fans are constantly comparing ratings. Brandon Thurston is a surrogate, if you will, in the way that his reporting of numbers and ratings and the way it's positioned is out there. Liars will use numbers and numbers lie. And I'm not accusing anybody of lying, but I am suggesting that people are using data to help support a pre-existing narrative, right? That's my bitch with a lot of this stuff. But here's what all you need to do. If you think AEW is actually a better product than WWE, and actually more people are watching it because they're younger and they watch their stuff not on TV, but sure, if you think that, then let's just look at a percentage of audiences. No, you don't have to make a rating, or if you want to compare the 90s to the current, audience composition because of the internet and the way people watch stuff, all you need to just do is look at percentages. Just look at percent. You don't have to look at rating to rating. Look at the percentage of rating to rating. Look, AEW is doing fine. They were doing fine before Punk. That's my whole point. My whole point isn't that Punk is not an important part of AEW. That's not my bitch. My bitch is when guys like CM Punk came out and said publicly, and he asked people to quote him, which is exactly what I'm fucking doing right now. When he came out and said, essentially, not verbatim, but essentially, he said that he was more significant and has more of an important impact on AEW than Scott Hall and Kevin Nash did in WCW. Okay, that's an opinion. It's a stupid opinion, but it's an opinion. And that's okay, I guess, for you to have. But to try to say that in trying to get yourself over, right? And you're the one making the comparison. I didn't say that. I didn't make it up. CM Punk tried to downplay or compare himself in coming into AEW to Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. And he did it in a way to make himself more important or try to get himself over more. Okay, you're the one that made the comparison. So here's my response. Show me. I know exactly what happened on a percentage basis, and so does anybody that pays half attention. You can watch what happened to WCW's ratings immediately after Scott Hall and Kevin Nash showed up. And you can see the impact that they had, not only on WCW, but on the product today in many respects. Every time somebody comes out with a new faction and tries to make it come off like the NWO in one way, shape, or form. I get it. But to make that comparison, and that trickles down, and then you've got the hardcore, not all of the AEW audience. I'm not guilty of the same thing that I'm bitching about here. 90% of AEW's audience are probably people I'd want to go out and have a beer with and have a lot in common with. 10% of the people that are bitching about this shit all the time. And I like to call that out. CM Punk made the comparison. Half the time, Tony Khan's making comparisons. Every time somebody in AEW, shows up at the Hall of Fame, he flipped off at, Vince McMahon's, Hollywood star, tries to get and go viral on social media. What are you doing? You're comparing yourself to WWE. Okay, if you want to do it, then do it honestly. And what CM Punk did was show up, and a lot of people got excited about it, and they showed up on Friday Night Rampage, and then they went away, and they didn't come back. And when he showed up on Dynamite, a lot of people got excited, and they came, and they left. And they haven't come back since. CM Punk, world champion, 6 months storyline. Oh, he came back. Oh, everybody's so excited. And it's sold out, sold t-shirts, and, people showed up and bought tickets. And all, by the way, I'm not dismissing any of that. That's like really good shit, right? But didn't move the needle on television. So don't compare it. Don't make a comparison where you're opening yourself up for a fact that's going to take the wind out of you. Stupid.
Don't you think?
I'm warming up. I'm warming up the press conference scrum shit.
Well, don't you think that the WWE is more legacy, in terms of wrestling, right? Everybody references WWE, WWF, and what have you. And AEW nor anybody else has, 70 years, dating back to, Jess McMahon or what have you. WWE has a stronghold on the market. Do you think AEW will get there eventually, given time?
Hopefully, given time, but they're not there yet.
Right.
And they need to get there on their own and not try to cheap. Look, here we go again. We're right back to the beginning of all of this. If you're going to compare yourself, if you're going to talk about competition, then be competition. Go head to head, put up or shut the fuck up. That's basically what I was saying, is either do it or don't do it. And it's okay to not do it. In fact, I would advise against doing it, to be honest with you. But it's either or. And to be in the middle and not put up and go, okay, let me prove it, and really go head to head while you're talking all the smack you want to talk, because you should, and you're stupid if you don't. So do it. Get into a fight, get into a battle, throw rights, throw lefts, kick him if you have to, cheat, whatever, fight, or don't. and really create a great product. But to try to pretend and try to live in the middle without stepping into the ring is just somebody on the outside talking smack. You're just some fat dude on a Monday morning showing up at work smelling like beer and cigarettes, talking with your buddies as you're getting ready to go to work about how if you were the coach of your local or your NFL team, you could have coached a better game. I mean, you're just like everybody else. Do it or don't.
I feel attacked.
I can't remember what you asked me that sent me on that rant.
You were just asking, what are you doing this weekend?
Pretty much.
Well, a lot of our live viewers are pointing out that they're enjoying what's going on with MJF right now a lot more than with CM Punk. So we got to ask you this one last MJF question, Eric. Christopher Miller wants to know if this whole thing with Tony and MJF is a work, what's actually being promoted? MJF isn't going to wrestle Tony Khan, so why have MJF call Tony out?
I don't know, but see, that's part of the fun too and this, kind of takes us back to the beginning of this, and why I think it's so cool, because I don't care. It's the journey. And I said, it's either going to be a long, really exciting journey that's going to be talked about for decades or more, or it's going to be a really short, bad journey. And I don't think there's a lot in between, because it's now the expectation is so high, right? Mm-hmm. I'll be really disappointed if it doesn't have a great journey with a good payoff. But I can't imagine what that is. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm sure it can be done. I know it can be done. But since I have no idea how they're going to do it, that's the journey for me. That's my ride. That's the way I watch wrestling. That's how I get my kicks watching it, is watching how they try to construct and craft things that are going to ultimately lead to something big, or at least attempt to. That's what gets me interested. Now we've got something. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, man. That's the beauty. If you don't know, if you can't imagine how this thing is going to finish, they've got you. They've got me, because I don't know.
Real quick.
That's what makes this art to me, brother. It's a fun part of it. Where else are you going to get this?
First off, Eddie Prather, I personally challenge you to name 200 more over people than CM Punk. Number two, what's being promoted? MJF's being promoted. He's, as far as I know, I mean, I know it's all gimmicks and whatnot, but yes, he's not on the roster page, but don't you want to promote one of your guys that you have under contract till 2024 apparently? I don't know. I feel like AEW, maybe you can comment on this, Eric. Obviously we all know WWE, it's all about the brand. Do you think that AEW should kind of keep going with promoting and building some of these guys, or do you think they should more focus on building the brand like the WWE does?
You have to do both. You build, you need the talent to build a brand. This is a talent-driven business. You can wrap it up in all kinds of honest debate, and you can point to all the things that are so significant to the overall business of the wrestling business. But at the center of it all, the very nucleus of it, if it was a cell, in a part of living tissue, that nucleus is the talent. And that's what you use to build your brand. And you need to do it. Ideally, you're doing it simultaneously over a long period of time. And eventually the brand becomes bigger than the talent, which is the case in WWE now, I think. Talents are interchangeable. And yes, there's bumps along the way, and some are better than others, and all kinds of other things that go along with that statement. But at the end of the conversation, if Roman Reigns were to decide to hit up Elon Musk and take the next space ride to Mars and is no longer available, somebody will be in that spot. And eventually, sooner, later, that person will be conducting business as usual. That's a great spot to be in. Tony's not there yet. AEW is not there yet. But in the meantime, they've got to use, in this situation, I think the attention, the interest, the conversation, the fact that we're already 15 minutes over in this show because we're talking about it, and so is everybody else. That's good for the brand. It's good for MJF. Or if you noticed in that promo last night, he wasn't MJF. He was Maxwell J. Friedman. Conspiracy theory? Was he going out there not as the character, but as the person? Was that a defense? Potential defense? I don't know. Could be. I've been sued before.
Well, now I want to see Roman Reigns wrestle on Mars.
I just want to meet Elon Musk. That's all.
Well, it is so much fun to listen to you conjecture, Eric, and take your guesses. And we are not done yet. We have a little bit more of our after party going down for our ad-free show friends. But before we wrap up on the 83 Weeks channel, we want to get to this super chat from Nicholas way at the beginning of the show before we got into all this crazy conversation. He had this simple question for you, Eric. He wants to know, who was your favorite and not favorite wrestler to work with? Fave and least fave, right off the top of your head, Eric.
My favorite was, well, as a performer, my favorite was Steve Austin by light years. Yeah, nothing even close. But professionally, I love working with Hulk. You know, that was a hell of a journey. I love working with Kevin Nash, even though from time to time, man, we bang heads. But that's kind of the part I like in a way. It provides a different energy. And I love knowing that people that I'm in that world with feel as passionate about their opinions as I do, because that's how you get to the good shit. So Kevin Nash and Hulk, I loved working with. Least favorite, got on a business level, Bill Goldberg. And it wasn't that way in the beginning. I love working with Bill in the beginning, but once he got a hold of Henry Holmes, or Henry Holmes got a hold of him, and Barry Bloom, that was miserable. That was miserable. And there was no fun part to it. You know, it's not like I said, you know, Kevin Nash, you know, when he and I would go head to head and it was nasty and brr, and then we'd have a beer and we'd get over it. We came to a good place. I love that process. But there are certain times when you get into that same type of situation where it's nothing but just blood and knuckles and guts and teeth and shit, and nothing good comes out of it. It's not a two-way street. So, oh, I'd have to say Bill. Do I need one more person I didn't like working with?
Sure.
Oh, fuck. Honky Tonk Man. Come on.
Duh.
Of course.
Yeah. Default.
Obviously.
Well, we came in hot tonight. We're going out hot, and we do have another super chat from our top guy, Joshua Turtle, that we're going to get to on our ad-free shows after party. So make sure you go over and sign up at adfreeshows.com, become a top guy, and hang out with us for the whole show. If you have watched on the 83 Weeks channel on YouTube, thank you so much. We are so happy you've joined us live. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel, and if you click that little bell, then you'll get notified every time we go live, and you have an opportunity to pick the brain of this man right here that you can't see anymore, but he's still there. There he is. So every show's fans, stay tuned. Everyone else, thank you so much. We will see you back here next Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Take care.
All right. I got to fill up. I'll be right back.
Right on.
Okie dokie.
Okay.
A young Virgil. Jesus
That was
Christ.
really funny.
Feeling, Steve.
I mean,
I'm feeling good.
you good?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that young Virgil comment popped you a little bit.
That popped me real good.
Motherfucker. I shouldn't sell it, but fuck it, I'm gonna sell it.
We'll have to pull up a side by side. Okay.
Oh God. I have hair, damn it. Actually, almost. Oh yeah. My 2020 Halloween costume